Okay, so it seems that recently there's been a little bit of a situation going down with Powder and some VTubers that have essentially, I guess, not really, I don't know if you really call it calling her out, but, you know, they definitely made a couple of posts about her, which, of course, she then went and responded to. And this has been a pretty big topic over the past day or so. Now, essentially, it all started from this tweet here, of course, from this VTuber called Coffee Fox. And they say, I wish I could ban specific people using emotes in my chat, because what do you mean you're using powders in exclamation, in, you know, not exclamation mark, no, not exclamation mark, in caps, emotes in my chat. So yeah, obviously very, very, you know, crazy thing to say if you don't want to be kind of, I guess, what do you call it, replied to by Powder, because again, this is very, you know, it's very obvious kind of, I guess, like hate post towards her, right? They say, what do you mean you're using Powder's emotes? Of course, you can tell how, you know, the way that they're kind of saying it, that they do not like Powder. And I think it's okay if you don't like someone or you don't like, you know, anyone in the space, right? That's fine, right? But obviously, once you make a tweet about it and you're obviously very, you know, rude about that person, then of course that person is going to respond, right? And of course, Powder responds by saying, you know, pretty funny, right? This is just kind of sarcastic, saying, I find my emotes to be pretty, to be very cute, rude, right? She doesn't just go, oh well, you know, I hate you. You shouldn't be using your emotes in my chat. No, of course not. She's just like, you know, whatever. I find my emotes to be cute, rude, like whatever. And it just kind of has escalated even further, right? To the point where it's almost kind of funny. And yeah, essentially it goes on to here, you know, she says, I know I'm the VTubing punching bag almost daily at this point, but you gotta wonder what people are thinking when they fling stuff my way, expecting me to be tolerant, so expecting me to tolerate it. Sometimes I fling back, so if the outcome is just this image below, then maybe you should have just left me alone in the first place. Just a thought. And I think that's fair enough, right? This is a very obvious post, you know, kind of going after Powder. And, you know, you got to expect that someone is going to reply to that, right? Even if you don't, you know, agree with Powder or whatever, it doesn't mean that you necessarily have to make a post on Twitter, you know, kind of calling it out or whatever. And of course, you know, she is going to respond if that is, you know, the case, if you do decide to do that. And of course, it ended up getting deleted, apparently. But it gets worse. It gets even worse because, you know, she goes on to say, I deleted it because I was being literally called slurs and hounded. I had people join my live just to spam me. You have an over 100k following compared to me. I don't know why it really mattered. And again, as I said, you know, it's just one of these things where, you know, this would have never happened if you didn't make this post, right? You know, and if you're going to kind of like step into the ring, you got to kind of be, you know, prepared to face anything that kind of comes from it, right? Because, you know, by, you know, kind of saying this kind of stuff about Powder, he's going to respond to it. And do you know what happens whenever people respond to stuff? Their fans aren't too happy with you either, so they're going to go after you. Now, of course, you know, you could complain about the kind of stuff that they're saying and things like that, which, you know, sure, whatever. But again, you were the one that kind of got yourself in that situation in the first place by making that tweet in the first place. If you didn't make it, guess what? None of this would have happened, right? And again, I do find it kind of crazy. Now, of course, there's been another response as well from someone within the same like organization or whatever, saying, hey, step the F off of my friends. People don't like you because you're not a likable individual. You come through with toxic takes for popularity and then say little to nothing when your simp ass hounds come harassing people in your defense because you crave validation. Obviously, this is in response to her talking about the deleted post, right? And you know, they say, and before anyone comes at me about this, this was literally her vague posting about a friend of mine. 2, she's not going to smash if you defend her. Dog, I'm engaged, I don't care. And number 3, you're going to ruin your career this way. I have 100 followers, cry more if I upset you, right? And yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where, you know, they're like, oh, they vague posted about my friend. I mean, let's be real, your friend was the one to make the post first, right? If your friend didn't make the post first, guess what? She probably would have made a post, right? And of course, Powder, the response to this, saying, maybe don't take shots at me and I won't have to defend myself, you bunch of bullies, which of course is pretty crazy, right? They say, And then they say, you have 100,000 followers and are a vocal right-wing grifters. If a bunch of small-time creators doing this for fun express their distaste for your hurts your feelings, that says more about you and your ability to handle situations than it does about us. Now, again, I find it crazy, like every time people revert to the, oh, but you've got this many followers, but you've got this many followers. Oh, but like, that's not fair because you got this many followers, right? And obviously someone said, replied there saying, if you don't want the 100k follower account to not attack you, then don't attack them, which of course is 100% the case, right? They say, oh, me, I don't care. You know, I have 1,000 other things going on, and the viewers that want to be around me always will be, but sometimes I hit back. You know, it hits different when you only ever defend yourself against people so small that they'd easily get overwhelmed by your fans' harassments. The cricket's there, that's what I thought. So yeah, obviously, I don't know, it's crazy, right? And of course, I think there's another response from Powdur saying, yeah, I'm allowed to bully you because you are more successful than me and my friends. Shut up, bro. Which, yeah, I think is crazy, right? You know, they're saying if a bunch of small creators doing this for fun express their distaste for you, you know, they're essentially saying, so we're allowed to say, like, you're bad, but you're not allowed to say anything back because you got 100,000 followers and we've only got 100. So, yeah, it's allowed because, yeah, we don't have more followers than you. Like, it's crazy. That's just such a stupid way of thinking. I'm sorry, like, there's no other way to kind of explain it, right? To say, oh, you have 100,000 followers, so you're not allowed to defend yourself against us, right? And again, I think it is one of these things where, you know, someone thought that maybe, you know, they could be a little bit, you know, a little bit, not edgy, but a little bit kind of, you know, stepping into the ring kind of thing, as I said. They thought that they could, you know, handle it. They thought that they could maybe farm a couple of, you know, Powdur people that don't like Powdur or whatever. And then obviously it ended up backfiring pretty bad. And now obviously they're like, well, you can't attack me because you have 100,000 followers and I don't. So yeah, you actually you actually mean. So yeah, right. Well, it's these people that were attacking her in the first place, right? As I said, you know, you don't have to care about Powdur or anything that she does or any, you know, of her opinions or whatever. You know, if you just look at this from a completely kind of, you know, outside perspective, right? These people have publicly attacked her, you know, said some, you know, bad stuff about her, and she's responded to that. I mean, that's fair game, right? You know, if someone says something bad about you, it's fair game to respond to it. The same way that the people responding to the people responding, you know, feel like it's fair game for them to respond to her going after the people that attacked her, right? You get what I mean? But yeah, I mean, it's just stupid, right? And, you know, a lot of people in the comments are saying, like, is it not unreasonable to not want your viewers to use other streamers' emotes? Which, again, I do think is true. You know, that's fair enough. Now, again, I'm unsure on how the whole 7TV stuff works. And yeah, if you don't want there to be other VTubers' emotes in your chats, I think that's fair enough. But I think the way that they've kind of worded it, the way that they've kind of gone about this in terms of like, oh, you're using Powdur's emotes in my chat. Oh, well, how on earth could you do that? That's the way that they're kind of, you know, phrasing it there. Well, of course, you know, that's a little bit different to, hey guys, can we please stop using other VTubers emotes in my chat? Like, I just don't really want them to be in there, right? And again, it's just one of those things. And I'm not sure if, you know, I'm assuming they mean like through 7TV or whatever, the extension for Twitch. I don't know if there's any kind of, what do you call it, like settings or anything that you can change to stop certain emotes and things. I'm sure there must be some kind of thing like that, because else it wouldn't really make sense to me. But, you know, you could have just done that, right? Instead of making a public tweet, you know, talking about it, or even just say it on stream, right? Like, hey, can we just stop using these emotes? Because again, a tweet is a very specific thing that, you know, of course is going to spiral, right? Tweets tend to have much more, what do you call it, longevity, right? If you just say it on stream, nobody's going to care, because nobody's going to clip you, nobody's going to, you know, do anything. It would be, you know, nobody's going to care. But on Twitter, of course, you know, this is going to come up on people's feeds. People are going to comment on this. It's going to get more attention. And of course, it's going to get Powdur's attention. Then Powdur will reply to it. And then, of course, it goes on and on and on and on, right? And of course, that is where they completely, you know, obviously you did the wrong thing there by just trying to call it out on Twitter and then not being able to handle the heat that comes out with calling someone on Twitter. So, yeah, I mean, that is essentially the whole situation. I mean, I thought it was pretty ridiculous, especially with the responses as well of the whole like, oh, you got 100K. Oh my God. I like, bro, like I'm allowed to bully you because you're the more successful than me and my friends. Like, oh my God, bro. A lot of people saying you're on a public forum giving everyone free content. You wanted the attention. Shut up and dance. Dance for our attention, which, yeah, I think is so funny. Say, what an ironic bitch ass comment when Powder simply exists hurting your feelings, and it says more about you that you and your cronies sit around doing this stuff for fun. What a loser. So yeah, of course it is pretty crazy, right? But yeah, that's about all we got for this situation. If you guys did enjoy this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Also, go to GameStop, use my code Kazza, get 10% off. Again, they've got a ton of really cool stuff over there. Definitely recommend checking it out. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. That's all. See ya.